Number 7.
I don't know what to do with the Commanders, but they're breaking every single NFL record offensively. Jaden Daniels, we thought he was going to be like Lamar Jackson light. Is he? Or is he just Lamar Jackson? I mean, the kid's incredible. I just read here this morning, he has 5 total touchdowns and 6 complete incompletions over the last 2 games. I do think the Cliff Kingsbury OC hire, and we predicted this, we thought Washington would be a playoff team. I think all flushing out the bad vibes, the bad owner, bringing an entirely new organization in, owner down. For the first time in a decade, everything is good vibes and positivity. I don't know where it lands. I don't know when the regression is coming. But I thought Arizona was one of the better sides of the week, and they blew them out in Arizona. I'll put Washington at 7.
All right. Washington Commanders fans, I think you're going to have to just take a second here. You're going to have to take a beat and just rest in this for a second. Because I don't think the Commanders have ever been on the herd hierarchy. Not as long as I've been watching this show. And I'm trying to think, what year could the Commanders have possibly been on the herd hierarchy? Like, I'm just trying to imagine, when was that possibly a thing, right? Like over a decade ago, maybe. Like, I really don't know. And so this is pretty awesome, right? I mean, you got them ranked. It's not even like they just limped in on 10. They're ranked 7. I mean, that's pretty legit. And Colin has definitely been, at least any of the shows that I watch, outside of maybe Dan Orlovsky being high on Jaden Daniels. I think he's the one that said Jaden Daniels should be drafted number 1, and I'm sure Commanders fans are grateful that did not happen. But Colin was definitely one of the main people who was like, look out for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. They're going to be a playoff team, and I echoed that as well. I've been saying that for a while now too. But the way how this is unfolding is pretty remarkable, honestly, and the way how Colin said, where he's like, oh, Lamar light, is he, or is he just Lamar, or even better? And that's why I always kept referring this, because again, right, obviously going second, the second pick, like CJ Stroud, this team seemingly coming out of nowhere, like the Texans did, and my whole thing was like, because people are like, oh, can Lamar, can Jaden Daniels and the Commanders do what the Texans did? And I'm just like, at this point, I'm thinking, I honestly think that this team may be better than what CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans were able to do last year. And so it's such a fascinating, I mean, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Colin literally has this team ranked better than the Texans this year. And this year, they should be better, the Texans. So it's pretty wild when you really honestly think about it. I don't know also where this team lands, right? What the ceiling is for this team. I think you'd feel more comfortable if the defense could catch up to the offense, right, in a lot of ways. And part of me was also originally thinking, and I know that this defense is limited by personnel and stuff like that, and again, it's going to take a minute or two for Dan Quinn to get situated. In a lot of ways, I was thinking when I was kind of unpacking this, because I believe in Dan Quinn as a defensive mind. And I was thinking, okay, it's going to be really cool because, you have Cliff Kingsbury, you got Jaden Daniels, and they're going to be able to get this offense going, but hopefully this defense will be, pretty good, pretty solid. It's going to take off some of the burden off of Jaden Daniels. They're going to be able to play some good complementary football, and, they're not going to have to ask Jaden to do too much. And instead, it's like Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury are just leading that team, right? They're just leading the way, right? And it's just awesome to see. It really, really is. And ironically, CJ Stroud and the Texans also had a defensive head coach to kind of start their run as well. So can you imagine if this team could also just really start to shut teams down? I know they did a little bit against Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, but if that trend can kind of continue, right, that would be just really, really impressive. And they have some really interesting games up ahead. I think the Dallas Cowboys, although I don't think they're a great team, the Cowboys, it's still a divisional game. It's going to be Dan Quinn going up against his old team, not unlike what we saw Cliff Kingsbury going up against the Arizona Cardinals. So, that's going to be a really interesting game. I don't think it's going to be as much of bad blood because Dan Quinn willingly left, right? He wasn't fired, and I'm sure he's very grateful for what he had in Dallas and Mike McCarthy and all of that. I think his experience was generally quite positive, so I don't think it'll be as emotional. Of course, he's still going to want to win both those games, and of course, it's a divisional game, but I think it'll probably be a little bit less emotional than, say, Cliff Kingsbury being fired from the Cardinals. As well as obviously going up against the Eagles. The Eagles will be also an interesting team because it depends on how healthy are they. Have they fired Sirianni? You know, really what's going on with them. And the reason why I'm bringing up, you know, those teams obviously specifically more than anything is just because the Commanders actually could legitimately win this division. And it's just, I'm so fascinated to see what that could mean for the Commanders, especially from a playoff perspective, right? Does that get them in a situation where they could get a couple home games even, right? Like, you know, playoff games, that is. Like, it's just interesting stuff, right? Like the Commanders are just a really interesting team right now. And I think they play the Ravens next, I want to say. I could be wrong about that. And you know, that's obviously going to be a fascinating game. And yeah, there's still plenty more to learn about the Commanders, but all in all, you if you're a Commanders fan, like, this just has to be so exciting, because I know, now that I'm also thinking about it, when I was first making all those videos about the Commanders, talking about Jaden being, you know, a great draft pick and how the Commanders are going to have a lot of success, and I've already showed you all those receipts, and I'm not bringing that up to bring up my receipts again. I'm bringing it up because now that I think about it more and more, I remember, like, plenty of Commanders fans were obviously excited, and they were like, oh, I hope you're right, you know. But it was also plenty of Commanders fans who were like, all right, calm down, you know, this is cool and all, but, like, you know, we have to just kind of wait and see. We're a young team, new coaching staff, yada, yada, yada. And now it's like, here's the levels of success that they're having, and it's just like, now you're a top 7 team, right? Like, this seemingly, for many Commanders fans, even though they were excited, because they got Jane Daniels, and they got beat pretty good in week 1, and they were able to eke out a win in week 2 against the Giants. And it was just like, all right, yeah, you know, they're going to get some wins, have some tough moments, yada, yada, yada. And then you have this. And it's just like, now you have all the shows talking about it, right? I'm going to be doing another video where you have Nick Wright having, spoiler alert, having Jaden Daniels third on his Mahomes Mountain, right? That's wild. You literally, that's wild. 4 games in, you got Jaden Daniels top 3 on Mahomes Mountain on the second tier. I mean, you know, it's just Mahomes, and then I think it's Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels. That's extraordinary. And you got Colin Cowherd now having you on his herd hierarchy top 10. It's remarkable. I mean, literally 2 months ago, nobody was talking about the Commanders. And definitely in years past, nobody was talking about the Commanders. Nobody cared about the Commanders, right? Like, and if they were talking about the Commanders, it was things that no actual Commanders fan really wanted to probably watch or listen to. It was probably like, oh my God, click, right? And now it's like, they're in the media, they got the attention of everyone, and it's all positives, right? You have these debate shows now saying, who would you rather have, Jaden Daniels or Dak Prescott? Jaden Daniels or, you know, Caleb Williams? Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson, right? Like, it's just wild stuff. Wild stuff. This is my first experience of doing this channel and having, like, a rookie quarterback come in, and fortunately enough, just being fortunate enough to be in the beginning of it all, right? And watching this all unfold, and it's just so fascinating to see this come from seemingly out of nowhere. If I also really think about it, I remember when Jane Daniels first got drafted, right? It was like nothing, right? Like, there was no, like, real talk about it. It was just like a little blip. And then even when he was named the starter, I remember making a video and there was, like, nothing about it. And I then emphasized, I was like, well, of course he's the starter. He was always going to be the starter. But it was still, like, nothing. I remember I had to make a clip of him, I think, just, like, being at the press conference or whatever. And he's just like, yeah, I'm excited, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right, let's talk about it. Because there was just, like, nothing there. And now the Commanders are everywhere. And it's kind of surreal. It feels like a you know, like a boy band or some pop star just, like, coming out of nowhere, and now they're, like, world famous. That's personally been my experience of just watching all of this blow up. So pretty cool to kind of feel in a way like you're on the front lines of it, you know, in a weird YouTube virtual way, just to feel like you're kind of actually getting a legitimate front row seat to seeing the fans get all excited about it, see the popularity grow. And also feeling like I kind of partly contributed to it in a weird way, and not to their success, but in terms of helping encourage that conversation going. So it's pretty cool to see. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders being ranked 7th according to Colin Cowherd's herd hierarchy? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.